And once again, I want to say greetings to each and every one of you, Aquaba, and welcome. Welcome to another round of the Conscious Rasa Report here on LIB Radio, LIB TV, and on livingintheblack.com. My name is Kedio Wado, aka the Conscious Rasta. Weekday mornings, you and I get together live. We come at you from 9 a.m. Pacific time. That's 12 noon Eastern time, 5 p.m. GMT, and 8 p.m. East Africa time. We get together with you and we deal with culture, consciousness, historical perspectives. We deal with entertainment, economics, education, health, labor, law, politics, religion, family, conflict, future studies, all areas of human interactivity and development. Today's date is Thursday. It is the 14th day of August 2025 in the Western calendar. This corresponds to the year 6266 in the Kemetic calendar, to which we realign our cultural clock. Welcome to the 7th millennium. You have found your family in a peaceful place here on LIB Radio, LIB TV, here on livinginblack.com. I have an exciting program to share with you today. I hope you will find this to be as exciting as I do. It is so exciting that we literally have been talking about this now for 5 years, and I'm not going to stop talking about the topic that we have in our mind for today's program. So here's what I'm going to do. First of all, let me bring this up for my listening audience. I'm going to I have a PowerPoint presentation to share with you today. And with that PowerPoint presentation, I've got to sync it up. Let me go over here, and I'm going to put this up onto the desktop, push the presentation, and it's going to share the screen. Bear with me, it's well worth waiting for. We're sharing the window here. We have that up, and okay, bear with me. Here it is. Okay, we have this window up, and here is what is today's topic. It is entitled, Africa Can Feed the World. Africa can feed the world. Bear with me as I introduce it. Africa can feed the world. That's not up there, but that's okay. I have it in other places. Today on LIB Radio, on Tech and Future Talk, we revisit the 2020 book that introduced this powerful idea that Africa can feed the world. This dynamic book has the potential to transform the world in the world that we know today. Africans can move from the bottom to the top of the world's food delivery chain. This can be accomplished with the soil, sun, and water of the motherland. This is the plan. Now, we must find and fund the actors. So that is the theme for today's program, Africa Can Feed the World. And I'm highly enthusiastic about this particular book, this particular plan. A lot of you have gotten very familiar with and enthusiastic about the plan as well. Now, I did put on here the years 2025 to 2030. So there is a sense of urgency that you and I must confront for this plan to be put into action. So what I'm going to do right now, I'm going to go right into the PowerPoint presentation. It's not too long, just about a half an hour, maybe a little bit longer. I may stretch it out as some of these talking points have changed over the course of the 5 years since this PowerPoint presentation was first put together. I literally was updating it. So let's go into it again. The Blackest Soil is the name of the book. Africa Can Feed the World. A scientific roadmap to agricultural preeminence for the 21st century. Let's go into this and let's talk about what we have to share. This is dedicated to the inspiring memory of my Baba, Dr. Calestis Juma, who was born June 1953 and died December 2017. So he unfortunately lived to just his 64th year. Dr. Calestis Juma, agronomist and scientific futurist from Harvard University. A couple of comments from his book. He said, African agricultural productivity is low. If there is an investment, then African farmers are very capable of producing enough food not only to feed themselves, but also for the export market. Further, he said in his landmark book, The New Harvest, the Kenyan-born Dr. Juma diligently crafted a set of policy initiatives critical to the fulfillment of the aims of African food self-sufficiency, as well as achieving the continent's full agricultural export potential. And just to give you a little hint of what you're going to learn in today's lecture, when we come to the full implementation of Africa's agricultural potential, I'm going to read to you highlight from this report. There is a new narrative we call Africa Rising, which is rapidly transforming the entire African continent, unleashing a pathway towards sustainable development that will astonish the world over the coming 45 years. It has been widely forecast that African agricultural economics will expand between the years 2015 and 2030, threefold, reaching an annual value of $1 trillion in economic activity. This transformation signals the impending appearance of some 600 billion increased yearly economic activity over the 337 billion in agricultural output reported for 2015. The rapid introduction of exponential technologies, innovation trends, demographic trends, and other vital transforming factors will result in dramatic changes in the status of sub-Saharan nations and the people's rise toward middle-class status. With optimally transformed policies and practices, African arable soils can daily support 2,000 calories of organically produced food to as many as 12.9 billion people. So that is our target. Of course, there is today 8.1 approaching 8.2 billion people on the planet. So if Africa itself can feed 12.9 billion, then how can Africa not feed 1.54 billion Africans already living on the mother continent? That is what our program is for today. Your heart, Dr. Calestis Juma, is judged as pure and worthy in the great hall of the ancestors. And this work is dedicated to your memory. I do see in the house my sister, Africa One. For Africa One, we have you in the house. Hotep, Brother Keedy, and Global LB family. I want to thank you for Africa One for sending me that information that you sent me on how to prevent WhatsApp AI from scouring my material. That was so very valuable. I forwarded that to dozens of people, and it was very important to include that in today's conversation I had with one of the groups. Very important there. I appreciate, love you, my beloved sister. You are Ubuntu. I say, I am because we are. Going forward, let's talk about this theme called Afro-capitalism. And you need to know this theme, Afro-capitalism, because it is coined by one of Africa's preeminent businessmen, Dr. Tony O. Elumelu. He said this during the presidential panel of Africa Without Aid Forum in Ghana. He said, and I quote, "There's clearly a new desire and approach to investment in Africa. Take investment in power, for example. It is business, but at the same time, it helps to improve access to electricity for small businesses, schools, hospitals, etc. That is Afro-capitalism. That is what we know will help us to develop our continent. Investing in African youths is an investment in our collective future." Dr. Tony O. Elumelu. Very important. Let's go forward. I have written a number of Pan-African investment books. Here are just a few of the books that feed into today's conversation. The Road to Power, 7 Steps to an African Global Order. That was really a sea change in the way that I wrote and published my books. Kuchi-Chakalia Villages, a practical plan for self-determination. And that is being implemented over the course of the next year. We aim to get in on the ground, and once again, because we were doing it before, once again we're going to start building these Kuchi-Chakalia villages for as many people as we possibly can convince to participate. Africa Rising, Dawn is Breaking Over Africa. That's one of my favorite books. It's not a really large book. It's an inexpensive book. But that book, I think all of us need to be reading. The Repairing, Making Reparations Practical, very important book. The African Future, which is one of my favorite new books. And also Industrial Hemp, Uses and Opportunities. One of the major farming projects we're going to engage in when we get the Kuchi-Chakalia village started is in growing industrial hemp, medicinal hemp. Hemp as materials for making for sustainable products. We can use hemp as fiber, hemp as building material, hempcrete. Hemp is a wonderful, wonderful plant with over 50,000 documented uses. And then, of course, there is the book of the day, The Blackest Soil. Africa Can Feed the World. A scientific roadmap to agricultural preeminence for the 21st century. So I am very proud to have these 7 books in this extensive library that I have put together over many years. There are 60 books in a library. These are just 6 of about 16 Pan-African sovereign and sustainable development books. So let's go further, and we do encourage each and every one of you. We are in our emergency fund drive for August, Black August, and if you, as you can, make a contribution to our fund drive, we are so incredibly grateful. And also, please do hit the like button on your viewer today and let the algorithm know how much you think about your Alibi Radio. Now, what I am going to do right now is I'm going to just take a moment and remove the Cash App. So the Cash App donation, where is it at? Here we are. Cash App donation. Where is it? If I can't find it, I guess I can't find it. Let's go ahead. Just keep going. It's not too intrusive. Here is where we are. And that's not it. Here we go. Let's continue. This is a quotation from Dr. Akinwumi Adesina. He's the president of the African Development Bank, and he said the next generation of billionaires in Africa will be farmers. By using the most technically advanced state of African agricultural science toward soil microbiome management, combined with pesticide-free organic techniques, food produced on organically certified African lands can be marketed to the world at premium price. The availability of a huge supply of low-cost, high-quality labor will facilitate organic farming processes which are labor-intensive, yet bring higher returns and income to the farmers. Optimizing this formula, African export foods optimally could reach as high as $4.659 trillion annually. $4.659 trillion annually at the completion of this expansion. By a large margin, Africa will transform from a net food importer to the world's largest food exporter. That is our goal. We know we can do it. Let's talk from the perspective of Pan-African Agricultural Development Institute, which is one of the critical institutes that we have in mind for building. This is, let me just give you this quote here, first from Ken Bridges. He said, and I quote, "We have enough wealth, collective wealth, to literally wipe out black unemployment, which would raise income and hope, and thereby stimulate a severe reduction in crime. The solution is to simply redirect more of our own dollars back to ourselves. This is internal reparations." Ken Bridges, and he lived between June 1949 and October 11, 2002. He was, of course, a victim of the DC sniper. 6 priority categories guide this extended group of actions that we can instigate toward the fulfillment of the broader strategic program. I list these priorities in alphabetical order. We must understand the critical importance of each, realize that they are all interrelated, and we must engage our action plan with swift deliberation. These broad categories are agricultural optimization, agroeconomics, enhanced production, policy prioritization, resources management, and technical implementation. The following is a brief assessment of each of these 6 priorities, along with a few components which comprise their tactical steps. Oh, no, that was excerpted from the book. I do not have the following 6, but if you read the book, it will lead to that. We are the generation that our great ancestors always dreamed would arrive, and they gave fruition, they gave everything within their power to bring to fruition. We are the seed, the plant, and the flower of a new beginning for the excellence of Africans in all aspects of humanity and sustainable development. With all these empowering values stirring our souls and bodies to action, we step forward boldly and deliberately. We have a single-mindedness of purpose and conviction. Africa can feed the world. Africa can feed the world. Say it out loud. Africa can feed the world. Be proud of that. That's what we claim. Africa can feed the world. Let's keep going. 1 second here. We have the StreamYard link. I'm going to put this up and see if we have anybody in our YouTube family. Are you with us today on YouTube? We'd love to see you in the house. Let's continue. Ready to succeed in emerging markets. This is from the African Future, which is our group that is themed to be able to do this very work. So we welcome you to learn about the African future and learn about what you and I can do to complete this program and take this paradigm shift. The African future is ready to succeed in emerging global markets. And I just had a meeting with the African future, And we are on three, well, we're now on, well, no, we are on three continents. And we do what we do, and we're going to continue to do what we do. Some of you have been invited to join us early on, and we are going to continue to build upon that. Now, one thing I want to do right now, let me just take this off of the screen, because I have this image up here on the screen, but I don't want it up there. StreamYard, go into comments, banners, that's what I want to do. Hide that banner and show the ticker. There you go, that's what I needed to do. Okay, let's continue. Black Wall Street, the rest of the story. Within 5 years of the aftermath of the destruction of Black Wall Street, Greenwood was rebuilt into a thriving community again. A few residents fled the area, including J.D. Stratford, one of the founding developers, who had seen his entire fortune destroyed in a riot and had as well been threatened with lynching by the terrorist mob. The renewed success of the area was severely impacted by the Great Depression, which began in 1929, and the failure of the railroad line which serviced the area. Greenwood struggled on, but was further undermined by urban blight and population decline in the 1960s. Urban renewal efforts in the early 1970s dissected the area to build a highway loop around the downtown. A few of the 35 original blocks were set aside to create the Greenwood Historical District, which has done its best to keep alive the memory of this once thriving and wealthy community. That was an excerpt from the repairing. And in the book, I do document how in the Greenwood District they had 600 businesses, 21 churches, 21 restaurants, 30 grocery stores, 2 movie theaters, 6 private airplanes, 1 hospital, 1 bank, and its own school system. We've done it before. We can do it again. We must remember, they rebuilt it to a thriving community again. What key factors created Black Wall Street? There were 6 historical convergences which created the economic success of the Greenwood section of Tulsa, what we now call Black Wall Street. They are, number 1, between 1996 and 1896, I should say, in 1909, black real estate developers O.W. Gurley and J.B. Stratford acquired large tracts of land with the specific aim of selling lots only to blacks. That's demographics. 2, there followed a massive migration of high-quality, inexpensive labor into newly acquired fertile lands. And that is developing resources tied to the land to build on the demographics. Number 3, blacks were forced to produce for self behind the rigid walls of segregation and created surplus for external trade. So produce yourself for self. The third principle. 4, the high-tech transcontinental railway cut through Tulsa, and that is using state-of-the-art technology as the basis of wealth for your nation. I was just looking at this morning, and I was looking for examples of companies that made the highest return on investments in recent years. And don't you know there were some companies that were investing in and getting as high as today of 30 to 40 and more % return on investment year on year? That's the kind of exponential growth we intend for our African continent. That is the kind of exponential growth we intend for our African mother continent. Point 5, energy in the form of oil was discovered in large quantity on black lands. That was a source of wealth, but also that's where they got their energy from. And 6, blacks were charged with educating their own children. All of the conditions which created the miracle of Black Wall Street are being replicated in Africa today. All of them, all of these are being replicated in Africa today. So that obviously tells us if we want to participate in Black Wall Street, we might just want to change our point of focus and focus on Africa today. We're going to continue. Let's keep it up. The Road to Power, 7 Steps to an African Global Order. And here are the chapter themes that I put in the book. First chapter was race first. And we have this quote from Marcus Garvey: "Be proud of your race today, as our fathers were in the days of yore." We have a beautiful history, and we shall create another in the future that will astonish the world. Marcus Garvey. So the chapters: race first, do for self first. It's chapter 2, the remaking of world order. Yeah, the world is being remade in real time. And I wrote this book in 2000, so if you still don't know it or haven't acted upon it, you are really, really late to the party. What happened to the Black Revolution? We've done this all before. What happened to the Black Revolution of recent? Well, we document what happened. And a lot of that was due to entertainment. Blacks and Hollywood, the theft of the African identity. Blacks and Hollywood, theft of the African identity, and substituting this quote-unquote niggerized identity for us. I only use that word in quotes, and that is, of course, to quote my brother Dale Jones, who said, "America is a nigger factory," close quote. 666, the Internet and the Rise of the Antichrist. This chapter was originally written, when did I write this? This was about 1995, 96, a little after that. After I had the internet was fairly new on the scene, and I had been invited to New York to look behind the scenes of one of the fastest growing internet companies in the country. And I was shocked at what I saw. And yes, I did very deliberately title this chapter 666, meaning the satanic connection, the internet, and the rise of the Antichrist. And then we changed our tone, the new Sankofa for Black youth, meaning return to the past and fetch which has been lost so that we can move forward. And then the last chapter of the book is a manifesto. The world is mine. And here are the values that we declare as we do take charge of the world and our future. Let's go forward. Strategic planning for economic development. Economics is defined as 1, the branch of scientific knowledge which supports production, consumption, and transfer of wealth, and 2, the condition of a group or region as it regards material prosperity. Economics entails a scientific study of human behavior, particularly as it relates to choices that utilize resources most effectively. Economics is supported by theories, principles, and models that deal with market processes. Contrary to widespread behavior, economics is not necessarily bound to the advance of market-driven capitalism and the pursuit of profits. Indeed, the right type of economics creates sustainability, which most certainly also supports the generation of profits. Most certainly also supports the generation of profits, as important as any other aspect, and this correlates well with our specific African ancestral history and cultural values. Economics supports the fair distribution of the wealth of the group in an optimized manner, which benefits the maximum number of group members. And as you can tell by that last very important section of the definition of economics, America has failed American economics, because no longer does America fairly distribute the wealth of the nation amongst its members? And no longer does it benefit the maximum number of group members. So we have to start thinking beyond America. We have to. We have no choice. We continue. We must challenge the drain of Africa's wealth. Now look at that graphic there. 41 billion extracted each year from Africa, and this graphic is from Honest Accounts 2017. It's gotten worse. $162 billion in and $203 billion out. Africa is losing, according to this time frame, was losing $41 billion average extracted each year, contrary to the commonly held belief that the African continent is a place of desperate poverty and lack of wealth. It has been this vast continent that is the source of empirical wealth for the past 2,600 years and more. Today, our generation is faced with the task of finally overcoming the burden of natural resources and labor drain that has been the hallmark of modern civilization. We have the chance over the next 35 years to reverse this process and lay the foundation for the greatest civilization to exist in world history, the Great Swahili Empire. The Great Swahili Empire. Let's talk about Africa's transnational relationships with the world, the diaspora world. Yet there exists a long record of broken relations among African peoples as they have been dispersed around the world since the horrors of the Ma'afa, the enslavement process which captured our bodies and shattered our cultural integrity. This has shown itself to be crippling and devastating, despite the fact that most of us came to the Americas from West African kingdoms. We were broken up into various linguistic groups by enslavers and colonizers from Britain, France, Spain, Portugal, Holland, Belgium, and others. Today there are an estimated 1.317 billion people residing on the African continent. Now this was written in 2020. That was today. That was then. Today there are an estimated 1.54 billion people residing on the African continent, constituting 1 of every 5 people on the planet. By 2050, this continental population is expected to increase to nearly 2.5 billion, equating to slightly more than 1 of every 4 people on Earth. Africa has the world's youngest nations when the percentage of youth is considered compared to the elderly. Sub-Saharan Africa has the fastest rate of growth of the middle class of any region of the world, and is thus projected to be one of the greatest consumer markets of the mid-21st century and beyond. There are an additional 300 million blacks outside of Africa, with our 5 largest concentrations in Brazil, the U.S., Colombia, Dominican Republic, and Haiti. That is true. Kujichagulia villages, a practical plan for self-development. We are calling upon highly motivated people with skills and resources. Many will be called forth to do the righteous work. You are one of the brave few to form the vanguard leadership. There are significant economic, cultural, and social changes which have emerged that threaten our group's ability to sustain itself. Our needs persist for clean water, wholesome food, fair compensation, expanding economics, security, education, optimal health, and freedom from incarceration. It is our vision that within the controlled environment of Kujichagulia villages, supported by binding connections to urban communities, we can significantly reduce the gap between that which we need so badly and those vital elements which revitalize our communities and their inhabitants. I encourage you to go to Kuji Chagulia villages. Get the book. Read the book. Get on the same, let's all get on the same page, and then let's build. It's very, very important that we build for eternity. Africa rising. Dawn is breaking over Africa. The future belongs to those who best invest their resources toward their own visions of sustainable development. For many Africans raised throughout the diaspora of the West, the sun is rising in the East. Dawn is breaking over Africa. For people of African lineage around the world, the sunrise ushers in an era of potential economic empowerment to rival or exceed any such period affecting the destiny of a civilization in world history. With the pace of communications, technological innovation, and economic development moving at the fastest rate ever, we now have the potential to develop access to natural resources, engineering skills, human capital, and strategic planning at unprecedented scale. There are over 1 billion African people scattered all over the planet, and our continental homeland contains the greatest untapped natural resources of the whole planet. This is a time of great excitement over what this combination of elements means for our global vision of empowerment. Africans are the largest demographic on earth, larger than the Chinese, larger than the Indians, larger than them combined with their diaspora. So what is to hold us back? Nothing will hold us back except for our own reluctance to put in the work. We're going to get over that. Let's talk about what Pan-African assets we currently possess. So start thinking about yourself in terms of what you lack. No, start thinking about yourself in terms of what you are abundant in, and that is the resources. We continue. We do have a tremendous history of capacities, assets, and talents. Point, we have created a glorious historical record of high accomplishment throughout the entirety of human civilization. Look beyond the Ma'afa. Look on the other side. Look to when Aksum was one of the great empires in the world. Remember the empires of Mali and Songhai and Ghana and Igbo. They're all there. The greatest civilization in the world history lasted over 5,000 years and was based in the Nile Valley, from the south up to the north. So we have this glorious history. Point, we have deep spiritual and moral values, as well as being generous and empathetic. Point, we have accumulated a massive base of businesses, material assets, wealth producing industrial facilities, real estate, and other hard assets. Point, globally, we have the great advantage of sustainable positive demographics that will drive the whole evolution of planetary civilization for centuries to come. We have that demographic. We know that. Do we know what to do with it? Point, national dominion over concentrations of natural resources which rival or exceed those under the control of other ethnic groups. That's why there is this new scramble for Africa. And it's ongoing. If you're not engaging in this scramble for Africa, then you don't matter. You're just a body. You're either in the way or you're just a body to be able to use batteries. I hope you hear what I'm saying, people. Point, physical skills, athletic ability, and natural beauty as great or greater than any other competing groups. Point, we have direct access to some of the wisest and most conscientious elders of any group or ethnicity. And last point, our children are bright, precocious, talented, and disciplined, especially when their families and communities are stable and supportive. So Africa rising, Africa rising. We are celebrating the African, together making Africa realize its full potential through integration and unity. We are Africa. Let's continue. The new scramble for Africa. Across Africa, we are witnessing an intensifying competition between old colonial powers and emerging economic powers. What these foreign nations are competing against is a predicted future wherein over 2 billion blacks will ultimately develop our own immense natural resources toward an historical opportunity to enrich, empower, and secure ourselves. Not all foreign involvement in African nations is contrary to sovereign development. All great nations, bear with me, all great nations trade with other nations. Our challenge is to re-examine each of these relationships and to assure that these business arrangements are fair and that they allow people within the less developed partner nations to advance their own wealth and self-determination. The United States is currently pursuing 3 critical areas within African regions: healthcare markets, security, and infrastructure creation. Another primary aim is to preserve as much as possible the U.S.'s great advantage in imbalanced trade across Africa. There is the 6-part partnership, whereas you and I will begin this cooperation. Please hear it. One of several formulas that I introduce within my books on self-development is the 6-part partnership, by which I claim virtually anything that we wish to accomplish that will affect the larger target group can be essentially guaranteed to succeed as we can assemble this partnership. In the repairing, I briefly describe each component of the 6-part partnership, each of which could be further exploited in one or more complete books of detailed, nuanced research. I am convinced that this should be one of the most critical courses of teaching for any leadership vanguard. These 6 collaborations of which I speak are number 1, number 1, the grassroots, the common people, peer to peer, you and I working together, shoulder to shoulder, elbow to elbow. Number 2, non-governmental organizations or NGOs. Number 3, the public sector agencies. Number 4, the private sector. Number 5, institutions of higher education. And number 6, mass media. We can weave all 6 of these together in one comprehensive and integrated plan for winning. And it must, of course, entail the continent. Africa rising. When we last pointed to the examples of China and Singapore as clear cases of national ambition toward the perception of this as the, quote, the Asian century, unquote, I am saying very firmly that the 22nd century Julian calendar reference, this will all equate to the 64th century Kemet calendar reference when we switch back to our own, will most likely be referred to as the African century. The 64th century will be the African century. In preparation for writing this section of the repairing, I pulled out a legal pad and made a list of many factors which feed our positive outlook over the topic of Africa rising. I listed some 28 powerful trends which are pushing the continent forward, some at a very rapid pace. As well, toward the aim of balanced inquiry, I listed another 28 challenges that face African nations which must and will be creatively resolved as the continent achieves its fully empowered potential. I also frequently highlight how Africa's 54 nations, now 55 nations, embody this rapidly transforming destiny that we see across the continent. 3 of sub-Saharan Africa's most dynamically transforming nations are Ethiopia, Rwanda, and the Democratic Republic of the Congo. And I consistently point to changes within these nations as best places for us to look for great partnerships in development. Africa Rising, the Africa Destiny. And there is this quote from Mark Rosen: I like stepping into the future. Therefore, I look for doorknobs. Wow, that's very powerful. Going forward, we're near completion of this all, but we got a little bit more to go. The Repairing. These are books, different books that I have written on these subjects. The covers have changed on 3 of the 4 on the right-hand side. But The Repairing. This was right on the eve of the release of The Repairing when I put this together. We have solutions that have been explored in great depth within the 4 books on Pan-African development, which I have authored since 2000. In writing these offerings, I built a vast library of books, research reports, and other materials on top of future studies, exponential technologies, global trade, infrastructure, investment, transnational issues, politics, economics, and Pan-African development. It is my hope that these materials will best serve an emerging leadership in order to equip them with the right knowledge and information to be better competitors for our future global positioning. AfricaDestiny.com, and I don't know if I have that website open anymore. You all know we are in an emergency mode and we've been shutting down more and more assets. That's not good. We can do better than that. We should be doing better than that. Critical list of books that I have in my collection on Pan-African economics. Number 1, Black Africa by Sheikh Anta Diop. The economic and cultural basis for a federated state. That book is amazing, just amazing. That's one of the most fundamental books. The New Harvest by Dr. Calestous Juma. I mentioned him and the book at the beginning of today's presentation. The New Harvest, Agricultural Innovation in Africa. The 3rd book, The Clash of Civilizations and the Remaking of World Order by Samuel P. Huntington. To me, this is one of the most important books that anyone who would wish to compete for Africa in the world must read. A Clash of Civilizations. The book Bold by Peter Diamandis and Stephen Kotler. How to Go Big, Create Wealth, and Impact the World. This from the author, the best-selling authors of the book Abundance, which I also have in my collection. Bold and Abundant. Howard French's excellent book. Despite the title, you really need to read the book. China's Second Continent. How 1 million migrants are building a new empire in Africa. Well, if there are 1 million migrants in Africa and from China working in Africa to build a new empire, then what about 62 million African people just in the U.S. alone? Let alone the fact that there are millions of us, even bigger population in Brazil. Big populations of us all around the world. What are we doing? What are we doing with the African continent? We got to answer that question. And The Next Africa, written by Jake Bright and Aubrey Ruby. The Next Africa, an emerging continent, becomes a global powerhouse. Have you heard of that book? It's one of my absolute favorites. The Next Africa becomes a global powerhouse. Go, and this, of course, you do listen to LIB Radio every day for your daily research and strategies. And Here's how to contact me and additional resources. Great people build and do not destroy. Great people project their youth into the future as empowered, bound to the traditions of their community and valuing of those things which please the elders. Great people educate their own young people in their culture, their spirituality, their language, their traditions, their logic, or their history, and their values, and their inherent logic. Great people educate their own young people. Great people do not allow themselves to degrade into decadence and self-destruction. Great people realize that history is a continuum and thus do not waste years pursuing those things that mean nothing to their posterity. Great people are not easily distracted by trivial and non-productive affairs or activities. We are a great people. We are a great people. Right now there is a challenge to Africans in the diaspora across the U.S. And everybody's been talking for days about Donald Trump, President Donald Trump's plan to clean up Washington, D.C. We said it was coming. We said that when we first read Project 2500. What was the project called? Do you know what I'm talking about? 2025. We said he was going after D.C., but I had missed it though, because I said at that time that the Trump administration was reflecting a Christian desire to go after D.C. to remove that Ashkenazim group that had come to a disproportionate amount of power. Little did I know I was absolutely wrong. Donald Trump has essentially given Washington, D.C. over to them. And he's coming to D.C. to get rid of you and I was wrong, I will admit. But now that we know that he's coming to D.C. to get rid of you and I, and the elements that we allowed to rise up, what are we going to do? How do we change how we behave on such a vast scale? As you can tell, numbers on crime statistics don't mean anything to Donald Trump, because he's not about eliminating crime or reducing crime. Donald Trump is about eliminating and reducing your presence among the population. Can you stop him? I doubt that you can. I severely doubt that you will do anything to stop Donald Trump's strategic plan on D.C. You're just going to be, according to my analysis, I know this is cruel, but this is tough love here. According to my analysis, you're going to be cowering behind your doors, hoping that they don't knock on your door. Sitting on your hands, trembling, quietly, ever more quiet, complaining about his excessive behaviors. First, they came for the immigrants. And because it wasn't targeting us, we remained quiet. Then they came for all nationalities born outside of the United States. And because that didn't include us, we were quiet. Now, they're coming for the residents of Washington, D.C. Well, I'm living in Las Vegas. I guess I won't have to worry about it. You see the pattern. You see the pattern. So I want you to go to, I don't think AfricaDestiny.com is open now. And let me just real quickly, just double check. I hate to have to close these down, but we just couldn't afford. www.AfricaDestiny.com. And let's double check it. The site cannot be reached. And that's too bad. That's too bad. What am I looking for? I'm looking for another website, and I can't think of it right now. It's entitled There it is. And I'm going to see if I can grab Africa Destiny back real quickly. Because it was a very, very good website. But unfortunately, just couldn't keep it up. And we don't even have the email address anymore. So this is what happens in 5 years of neglect. And it says the repairing will be expiring soon. Renew it now. And so I'm going to do that. But I'm looking for, real quickly, this domain. And that is cheap domain. Open in a new tab. Real quickly. And here, I can go to the next page here. Oh, that was the end of today's presentation. So, we are here live, and I'm going to check for Africa Destiny and see if it is available after a number of years. Yes, it is available. So, I'm going to go ahead, grab Africa Destiny one more time, and I'm also going to renew the other one, the repairing.com, and it doesn't, oh no, that's not that far away. It's just a few weeks away. So I'm going to accept that. I'm going to renew now. Maybe auto renew is already on. No, it's not on. Auto renew is on. I'm going to turn that on, and we'll pick that back up here in just a little bit. So what we are going to do is I'm going to thank you all for being a part of LIB Radio, LIB TV, and livinginblack.com. I want to talk to you further tomorrow, and edit your plan, and I'm going to just, that's taking, is it 2 years, ultimate, I'm going to select full protection, and how many years is it? Come on, people. Sorry about that, I'm talking to myself and talking to you, and I'm going to check out and get those 2 websites, africadestiny.com, and I'm going to update the repairing, and we'll figure out what to do. This thing is just so slow right now. Why? Because I have a lot of resources open, so that's no major problem. I want to thank you all for tuning in today. We had a good week here on LIB Radio. A really great week, if you ask me. Now, this Africa Destiny is coming up at 5 years. I do not need that. I only need that for 1 year. Meanwhile, in 1 year, hopefully, you and I would have recovered. Africa would have recovered, and we can do much better at everything we do. So on that note, I want to thank you all for tuning in to LIB Radio. We aim to be your favorite. And on that note, I think we got it all in. It is emergency fund drive. Do you understand what I mean by emergency fund drive? I know you do for Africa One, Shabaka. I know you do. And Queen Mother Kashiba, I know that you do. The problem is a lot of our family are reluctant. And we ask the question, why are we so reluctant to do for self in a way that benefits our best self-interest? So we're going to find a way to do better. If you can, hit the button right at the bottom of your chat on Rumble. The button looks like a $sign. You can hit that one. The one next to it, red button, you can also donate there too. But we do need to do better at building institutions that advance our global self-interest. I was on a powerful conversation today with people doing just that, committing to doing that. And I'm on conversations every day. The thing is I can no longer live. And we don't want our vanguard leadership having to make that statement. I can no longer live. I have a lot of responsibilities on me. So we're going to do the best we can. I invite you, listening audience, to go to Amazon.com today and buy the book, The Blackest Soil. There are a lot of books at Amazon. You can also get them from my webpage. There is a website for theblackestsoil.com. I'm pretty sure it's still open. Real quickly, let me find out. theblackestsoil.com. And yep, it's there. It's http theblackestsoil.com. The blackest, oh man, blackest. I'll work it out a little bit later. The Blackest Soil. And you can get the book. You can get it from various websites, including Amazon.com. In paperback, it's $15. That's not a bad deal at all. Not a bad deal. So I'm going to encourage you to do the best you can. Do it for your family. Do it because it's the right thing to do. Whatever the reason, you know what to do. Because Africa can feed the world. Do you believe that? Do you really, truly believe that Africa can feed the world? Then act upon it. I want to thank you all for tuning in today. It's getting crazy. It's getting a little scary. But nonetheless, we go forward. We have no choice. We have no choice. We have only one choice, and that is to succeed, to go all the way to victory. And that's why you tune in to your favorite. We aim to be your favorite. We are LIB Radio, LIB TV. We are livinginblack.com. Tell your friends to tell their friends. We have our own now. And you know something? We're very proud of what we have. We're very proud of who we do this with on LIB Radio, LIB TV, and on livinginblack.com. We wish you all peace. And we wish you all prosperity. Peace, y'all.